Welcome to the Bear Talk, your go-to Chicago Bears podcast, where a father and son break down all things Bears. From Soldier Field to Sunday showdowns, I'm your host here, Dylan Weaver, and as always, joined here by my dad. Well, Dad, we've been on the other side of these games all too many times this year. Unfortunately, this one, the Bears fall short, with it literally coming down to the last play of the game. Ultimately ends up in a Bears loss, 38-42. The Bears fall to 11-5 on the season, but what a game, man. If Caleb would have thrown that game-winning touchdown right there, I mean, it would have been easily his best game of his career. Still think it was one of his best games, no doubt. Couple of stuff late, just thinking of it as, the game has now been over, just thinking about it a little bit. That drive before we ultimately settled for a field goal instead of a touchdown, which is ultimately the difference. We're right there. We're probably kicking a walk-off field goal for the win, or at worst going into overtime. If Cairo misses it, the field goal gets blocked, but ultimately settled for a field goal, had a chance there at the end of the game. Once again, too, it's kind of hard to be mad about the last play, too. You see that play clock winding down, literally didn't really have any time to analyze anything, but when you watch it back, nobody's open. Caleb's trying to make a play. And honestly, my thoughts are I just really hope Luther Burden's okay. Saw him go down in that end zone. Wonder if he either re-aggravated that ankle or if it was a knee injury. If it was a knee injury, let's just pray it's nothing too serious, because if it is, that's not good for the Bears. Luther showed exactly what he's going to be for this team going forward. One of the elite receivers in the NFL. 8 catches for him today for 138 yards. But those are my overall thoughts. And honestly, I'll throw it in there too. This defense, if we want to do anything in the playoffs, they got to wake up, man, because this is not a winning formula of trying to go in a shootout match 40 points plus to go win a game. The defense has got to wake up. I mean, they started the game off the best way you could start it off with a pick six. But after that, I mean, it was pretty terrible.
Yeah, I think our defense, we're great at the takeaways, right? We're great at the not so everyday basic defensive plays. It's the X's and O's for them. I mean, that D line, they struggle. Austin Booker had a game today. We called that out in the pregame. I thought he played well. Montez Sweat, he's like a paperweight. We pay that guy way too much money for the action he gives on that other defensive end spot. But exciting game. You know, we were in the position we wanted to be in, or I shouldn't say we want to be in, but the position we've been in all year long, where we got 2 minutes left, we got the ball, we got to drive down the field, score a touchdown, and we win the game. And the rest is history based on the way the seasons went. I just sum it up to this, right? Our good wasn't better than the 49ers best today, right? Brock Purdy played a hell of a game, 5 touchdowns for him, two rushing, three thrown. I mean, he had a great game himself. Christian McCaffrey over 150 yards rushing, going back to the defense, giving up a lot of rushing yards. Um, Exciting game. Nail biter as always. Still excited about the Bears and what they're doing. I mean, look at the score too, 42-38. I mean, you had a 38-31 Bears win prediction. You're at a 42-35. I don't know, 42 or that 45?
Yeah, 42-35.
35. So, I mean, we had the numbers in there. We just didn't have them in the order we needed them in. I'm sure there's a couple plays, that Ben called he wants back, and there's a couple plays back that, Caleb wants that he wish he would have ran differently. But overall, it's the Bears. Feel pretty good about it. Just we got another week, right? 4:25 next week. We play the Lions, which will be exciting. See how that goes. Hopefully, we can improve to 12-5, and then obviously we're already in the playoffs, so we get to see what that looks like. But we will start talking about pretty soon draft and what the defensive scouts are saying, what's out there in the field for potential landing spots, or even there's a little rumor out there about them shutting down Max Crosby, and he's a little upset, and what do we got for trade, and maybe if Luther's okay and we know what we got in him now, we know what we got in Rome when he gets healthy and he's back. Maybe DJ's on the trading block. Maybe we're picking up a Max Crosby to solidify the other spot.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that in the offseason. I agree.
Yeah.
Like this draft was all offensive this year, which we kind of questioned at times, but it looks like it was the right call. And next year, we go rebuild that defensive line because we need to get
Colston's awesome.
Especially with Trent Williams not playing and you're outside of Austin Booker, no one else is getting pressure on the quarterback. That's not good at all. And once again today, too, the penalties absolutely killed the Bears. Too many penalties. One penalty, too, by the way, that takes away another interception, which takes away 7 points that the 49ers had, which could be the difference in this game as well. But that shoulda, coulda, woulda. Ultimately, the Bears lose this game. And like we said, I think this one ultimately comes down to Dennis Allen and that defense, which it's a little weird. You're finally getting this defense as healthy as it's been, and you're letting the team, hang 40 points on your head in a loss. And I will say the 49ers defense, like we talked about in our pregame, they haven't punted in the month of December until tonight. They punted twice, but still, you shouldn't be the way every play was chunk plays for the most part. Like, there was another time it was 2nd and 17. You give up a first down. That cannot happen. That resulted in a touchdown. You have another 3rd and 12. What does it result in? A first down. The Brock Purdy scrambled and looked like Caleb Williams and throws that touchdown pass. That was 3rd and goal.
Yeah.
Like, it's stuff like that little stuff that needs to get cleaned up, but it's a good game to watch. And nonetheless, too, if you're a Bears fan, if you want to play, the good game, this is a playoff team, and we went toe-to-toe with them. So it's a good test for what the playoffs are going to look like. It ultimately just sucks, too, watching DeAndre Swift in time. He should have on that hook and ladder. He could have easily beat that number 2 to the outside and got out of bounds, would have had the clock at about 18 seconds with, at that point, as long as Caleb doesn't take a sack, you're getting 3 plays there guaranteed at a shot of the end zone compared to just one play. And I'm sure they'll look back at that too, because DeAndre Swift had the one guy squared up. He chose to run to the inside to try to go for the touchdown, it looked like, when instead he should have bounced to the outside, especially on that hook and ladder. It's designed for one of those quick, when time's running out. You see a lot of teams run it now. The Buffalo Bills ran it today on a 4th and 15. Like, it's designed, you catch it, and you immediately, once you catch it, you get to the sidelines. And the thing with that play as well, that was first down. So even if you don't get the first down, you can still run out of bounds around the 4 to 5 yard line, and it's 2nd down. Nothing hurts. So I think DeAndre Swift's going to want that one back, and it'll be a good coaching point for him going forward, because like I said, the clock would have had 17 to 16 seconds on it. As long as there's no sack or false starts with 10-second runoffs, you're getting 2 to 3 plays minimum in there at a chance at a touchdown. But instead, you fall short like that. You get one play at it, which I'll have to watch it back too. I don't know if it took a second to get the play call in, but as soon as they started showing the Bears lined up, there was 5 seconds on that play clock. And I honestly thought for a second we were going to get a delay game and the game was going to end, because it hit 0, but luckily right as it hit it, that ball did snap. And then ultimately Caleb's, there was pressure right away. He scrambles to the left, tries to extend the play. No one's really open. And hopefully Luther Burden is all right. Maybe he was trying to cut back to that football for Caleb, because it looked like that's where Caleb was throwing it, and he might have slipped or something. But nonetheless, I would say a great game from this offense. The defense, on the other hand, they got a lot of stuff they need to clean up heading into the postseason. And now it gets dicey. The Eagles play the Commanders next week, and the Bears play the Lions. And albeit the Lions, that next week is probably going to be an exact game like this of a shootout, because we can't get pressure. And that's the key to beating the Lions, is 1, stopping Jahmyr Gibbs, and then 2, getting pressure on Jared Goff so their skill positions can't make the plays that they make. But if the Bears lose that game and the Eagles win, we will probably be playing either one of those NFC West teams, which are not one of the teams you want to play right off the bat in the playoffs. So ultimately, this one could definitely hurt. But let's just go through it like we do on our post-game shows. Let's go through the stats. First, as always, we'll start with the team stats. Bears had 440 total offensive yards to the 49ers, 496. No turnovers for the Bears, 1 turnover for the 49ers. 26 first downs for the Bears to the San Francisco 49ers, 32. 7 penalties for the Bears to the San Francisco's 5. 6 for 12 on third downs, which is really good because we were 0 for 3 on third downs going into halftime. The 49ers, on the other hand, like we said, 7 for 10 on third downs. That's not a recipe for success. 2 for 2 on fourth downs for the Bears to the 49ers, 1 for 1. Red zone today, we were 1 for 3 to the San Francisco 49ers, 5 for 5. Time of possession, 26 minutes and 30 seconds for the Bears to the 49ers, 33 minutes and 30 seconds. So just looking at that, it's pretty split down the middle. The only thing that's a little bit different is the 49ers are 5 for 5 in the red zone, where the Bears were 1 for 3. However, obviously, the Bears scored 38 points. Most of their touchdowns were just long shots. Caleb had a bunch of great balls thrown today. But the 2 times we did get in the red zone, the 1 time settled for a field goal. And then that last drive of the game, obviously, we didn't score. Those are the 2 where we missed out on. And like I said, I think the message is the defense. Last week, they held Green Bay was 0 for 5 in the red zone. And this week, it's the complete opposite. The 49ers are 5 for 5. Just can't happen. And like I said, everything else, though, is pretty. 49ers had 50 more yards. They had 6 more first downs. Third downs, they were 7 for 10. We were 6 for 12. Pretty spot on. It really just comes down to the red zone defense that kind of, made the difference in the game. And I think we've already touched on that in our post-game analysis, really just the defense not showing up today when it mattered most, which, like you said, the way the game started off, you would think it would be in a whole different story. But after that pick 6, the 49ers drive right down the field in like 4 plays and score a touchdown. So nonetheless, the main message, the defense has got some stuff to work on. Let's hop on over to the box score. We'll just focus on the Bears for here. Caleb Williams, 25 for 42 today, 60% completion percentage, 330 yards, 2 touchdowns with 100.3 passer rating. When it comes to the rushing, 22 rushes for the Bears offense today for 110 yards, average 5 yards a carry with 2 rushing touchdowns. DeAndre Swift led the way with 9 carries for 54 yards, averaging 6 yards a carry, with Kyle Monangai 8 carries for 38 yards with 4.8 yards per carry, and Caleb Williams adding 18 rushing yards of his own. Comes to the receiving, we talked about it in our pregame show. I thought the 2 rookies were going to have monster games today. Sure enough, here they are. Luther Burden, 8 catches, 138 yards, and 1 touchdown. Colston Loveland, on the other hand, 6 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. And then Ja'Day Walker, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, each combining for a couple of catches. And then Durham Smythe, DJ Moore, and Kyle Monangai getting some catches in there as well. But 25 total catches for 330 yards and the 2 receiving touchdowns, obviously. When it comes to the defense, the 2 people who led the way, Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards with 9 tackles. Really, Jaquan Brisker had a pass deflection today. CJ Gardner-Johnson had a pass deflection. Austin Booker with 2. Jalen Johnson with 1 that obviously led into that pick 6. And then TJ Edwards with the big pick 6 on the first play of the game. And from there, I mean, really, like I said, the defense, not even Austin Booker was the one guy. He got 1 sack on Brock Purdy, had a big QB hit on Brock Purdy as well on one of their third downs to force them to finally punt. And that's where the Bears ultimately got the ball in offense, settled for that field goal. But nonetheless, I mean, if we do want to talk about a positive thing, we talked Caleb needed to have 300 yards, cut it in half to get to 4,000. He had 330 today, so 270 yards next week. It's going to be a little difficult in Chicago in that weather, but if he can do it, he will cement himself as the Bears' first 4,000-yard passer, which honestly, I'm here for it. The guy deserves it. He's been playing his ass off all year. He's shut up a lot of people, and even though he didn't get that game-winning touchdown today, it wasn't on him today. It was on that defense.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 6 game-winning drives throughout the year, which I think, he's tied for as one of the top people in the league to do it. So, I mean, it is what it is. And yeah, I don't know if you touched on it at all, but 330 yards, nothing to sneeze at, right? But how many drop balls were there today? We had some drop balls.
I was about to
Uh,
say DJ dropped one in the opening possession, which if he caught that, the guy that was guarding DJ tried jumping to knock the ball out, didn't hit the ball, and it hit DJ Moore's hands. And he had green grass. The one play that was a little sickening there at the end, which Collinsworth was kind of giving Caleb some crap for it, but on that game-winning drive, Devin Duvernay was wide open on that crossing route. However, 3 guys in Caleb's face as he's backpedaling
yeah,
ultimately didn't have the arm strength to get it there. I think that's one of those where instead of Caleb tried to throw that one on a line, he should have tried to arc it a little bit because Devin Duvernay was wide open.
yep.
And that was still with like a minute left on the clock. He would have probably got down towards at least the 15, 10-yard line. But like I said, that shoulda, coulda, woulda. Caleb made plenty of insane throws today,
Oh yeah,
on time, in rhythm. There was a bunch of beauties today. He played from the pocket most of the game until a couple plays there at the end where he really had to try to extend plays to go win the game. But really liked what I saw from Caleb, honestly. But like I said, I do want to see him hit that 4,000 yards and 270 yards. It'll definitely be a weather watching week to check that weather, because if it's at least, it's probably going to be in the 30s next week in Chicago. Hopefully nothing colder, but hopefully the winds are down and Caleb might be able to get it, man. He really might be able to. And honestly, our first two offensive drives of the game, if they're not 3 and outs, he probably is at 400 yards in this game easily. And you're talking about 200 yards next week, which is a walk in the park for Caleb. So, but
yeah.
nonetheless,
Don't forget either though. Even if he doesn't hit the 400, he's going to be Eric Kramer, so he will be the all-time passing leader for a season for the
I
Bears.
will say
Which,
that puts him at he was at 3,400. So this puts him at 3,730, and the record is 4,840 something. So he really needs a 100-yard game next week to pass up Eric Kramer,
yeah,
which will be the first Bears. He'll have the highest passing yards in a season by a Bears quarterback in year 2. So for all the haters out there, once again, too, you guys can go eat it, say whatever you want. Caleb is the future. He has done nothing but continually and gradually improved as this season has went on. He's had some lows, like Ben Johnson said there would be. There's still going to be some lows, but for the most part, Caleb's been a steady up a staircase for the most part as far as this season has gone on. So
yeah,
I just wanted to give Caleb his flowers. It really would have been awesome if he could have topped that game off with another game-winning drive and surpassed Peyton Manning for the most game-winning drives under the age of 25. But nonetheless, great game from the offense and Caleb Williams. And like you said, though, 2 big drops. As big of a game as Luther and Colston did have, they both did have crucial drops on that last drive. But they both kind of made up for it because the next play, Luther picked up
yeah.
that first down. And then on the 4th down, they went to Colston Loveland. He caught the ball. So they made up for it, but it's little stuff like that wastes seconds. And you don't feel it in the moment, but afterwards, when you look back on it, those seconds are very crucial and could have made a big difference. But nonetheless, Bears fall short. And like you said, Brock Purdy, shout out to him, dude. He's been playing at an unreal rate these past month.
he's awesome.
I know he's kind of been getting scrutinized too because Mac Jones was playing so well while he was out, and there's people talking about now Brock Purdy is definitely their starting quarterback. When he has that clean pocket, he was delivering all day, especially in the first half. That's why it was confused. That's why it was weird to me is like our defense in the first half, the coverage wasn't bad. It was always tight coverage. It was just Brock Purdy delivering a better ball. But then the second half, it was just wide open receivers. Like you saw it on their game-winning touchdown now to Juwan Jennings. I mean, middle of the field, 40-yard touchdown, which at that time, all of us Bears fans were like, whoa, that's way too much time, which it ultimately was. But, it sucks. But like we said, we've been on the other side of this so many times this year, and sometimes it's just not going to go your way. But I'm sure there's a lot to take away from this game defensively and even some stuff offensively they're going to want to clean up as well. But they got to lock in and get ready for next week, because I'm telling you right now, if they lose, you do not want to be playing one of these NFC West teams in the first round of the playoffs. Even though it is going to be at Soldier Field no matter what, you do not want to be playing one of these NFC West teams right off the bat in the first round of the playoffs, because it easily could be the Rams or this. If the 49ers win, then you're talking about the Seahawks. Like, now, this is the other thing. It could be a 49ers-Bears rematch here in a couple of weeks, but at the same time, they didn't have George Kittle tonight. They didn't have Trent Williams for the whole game. And Fred Warner is rumored to be coming back when the playoffs start. So those are a lot of key pieces. Like, this gets very dangerous for the Bears now, nonetheless. But I mean, hey, they controlled their destiny, and I really hope too we do not sit our starters next week, because, like we said, we can still be playing for that second seed. And at this point, I think the two teams you want to play is Green Bay, or if you could play the Bucs or the Panthers, depending on who wins that, because the Ravens showed exactly what you need to do to the Packers, and that's what the Bears should have done the first time. Just pound the ball, wear and tear on them. But every playoff game, no matter who you played, these are all going to be good teams from here on out, and you got to find a way to win them. So just sucks it fell this way, but honestly, that's really all the thoughts I got, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I will just say it hurts a little bit, right? I mean, as you're watching the game, you're like, holy cow, this is a shootout just the way we thought it was going to be. And I even said before that touchdown, I'm like, oh, they scored too early. We got plenty of time. This is like a lifetime compared to what we're used to. I'm like, we're right in the position we need to be in. And then just unfortunately, we couldn't pull it off. So the Bears have been nothing but entertaining all year long. That's all I have to say. And that's all you can ask for, right? I mean, we've been Bears fans your whole life, my whole life. And you have those years. Typically by this time of year, we're not even worried about the game. We're just kind of, it's on this background noise in the back, or halfway through the year. Like, I know last year, I'm like, oh, my Sundays are free now because I'm not worried about what the Bears are going to do. But this year's definitely they've been entertaining, and exciting to watch. And obviously, I think there's going to be more to come from them, especially for the rest of this year, depending on how far they go in the playoffs. And then ultimately, we get into the draft, and then we get into next year. We figure all that out. And I think we got a few years of us of really continuing to get better and being a lot of fun on Sundays. That's for sure.
Yeah. And like we've said, I mean, I at least have said it. I know you have aspirations for that Super Bowl, which obviously would be awesome. But at the end of the day, we're in the playoffs. We won the NFC North. Like, for year one of Ben Johnson,
Think about it this way.
it obviously will suck if the Bears lose in the first round of the playoffs. But in reality, dude, this season has been a Sunday with triple stacked to the freaking moon of how it's been going. So
We went from the outhouse to the penthouse from last year to this year. I mean, we were at the bottom of our conference last year. Obviously, fire coach, three OCs, pretty bad scenario. And this year, I mean, we're winning the North. We're going to the playoffs. Outhouse to the penthouse. Let's be excited about it. Let's celebrate it. And, we look forward to next week, play that game, and then we look forward to the playoffs. And if we win, if we lose, still into the playoffs, right? That we weren't there last year. By that time last year, most of them have already booked their trip to Honolulu or wherever they went to for their vacations to take time off. Cancun, Europe,
yeah,
Justin Fields. Well, no,
yeah,
that was the year before when Justin Fields was in Europe and found out he wasn't playing for the Bears no more. But
yeah, yeah. But nonetheless, it was a great game. Just fell short. And honestly, I want to touch on this too. I don't want to keep harping on the defense, but 34 carries in the rushing game for the 49ers for 200 yards. Not acceptable. 5.9 yards a carry. That's just a recipe for disaster with 3 rushing touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey led the way, 23 carries, 140 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, which honestly, that number is interesting, though, because at halftime, CMC had 122 yards. So he only had 18 yards in the second half. But
he was kind of injured there.
Yeah, he was working out that back. And Brock Purdy was the one that ended up torching us in the second half, 24 for 33, 303 yards. And obviously you talked about it. 2 rushing touchdowns with the 3 passing touchdowns. Montez Sweat multiple times tonight. Didn't stay disciplined. I know Brock Purdy's not a Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels where you have to worry about the read option. So I'll give them a pass for the first time they do it. But once you see it that first time, you have to start respecting and playing your assignment as that D end. And too many times he got caught biting down on the run play, and Brock Purdy's running free for easy touchdowns. So that's definitely something that's not acceptable either. And you got to clean up. And like I said, this 49ers team wasn't even at full strength, which is the scary part. So you got to clean stuff up defensively. And I'm not going to lie too. I think too with Dennis Allen, he's had obviously a great year as well, but a lot of times today too, I feel like we're just not seeing as much more blitzing. Like we're seeing a lot more show blitz, but we're all just dropping back. Where in the start of the year, it was we don't care. We're sending the house, which I would much rather do to start getting some pressure on Brock Purdy or any quarterbacks going forward where we're at least getting pressure there. Because if you're not getting pressure on a quarterback, you gotta change something up. And then if he beats you because you sent the house, well, then you got to live with it. But I felt like too, we just didn't see as many blitzes today, especially I thought after halftime he would definitely change it up a little bit, but
No.
it really didn't change much. It was line everyone up like we've been seeing all year, but a lot of times drop them back, which it's just, especially with the receivers they have Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings. Like I trust Nashawn Wright, even though for the most part, Nashawn Wright got absolutely torched today, but
he did not have his best game today.
Yeah, him and Tremaine Edmonds, I saw a stat at halftime that they were each targeted 6 times in the first half, and every time the receiver caught the ball. So Tremaine and Nashawn Wright definitely not having their best days, but at that point though, that's the difference. So when you send a blitz, it doesn't give that quarterback time to set his feet, make those throws as accurate. But when you're not sending them, it just
I'll say this too. Like we talked about Austin Booker before the game, and even last week, right? Austin, he had the sack. Everyone's upset about it. And then even this game, right? He had the sack. He had some pressures on the quarterback, a lot of hands in the air, motors always going. He just seems to have a higher sense of urgency than the rest of the defense right now. And I don't know what that is about. There's definitely something going on that defensive side of the ball. But his name was called a bunch tonight. I mean, granted, I think he had a penalty or whatever out there, which you don't want to have that. But for the most part, he was getting called for making some plays, making magic happen. But he's running with a different motor, and I think maybe because he didn't get to play before, now he's excited that he's in there and he wants to do the best so he can continue his career. But Grady Jarrett's and Montez Sweats, I mean, they're just not. They're not doing it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they are tired. Maybe they had that flu bug that was going around with the team. Maybe that's why they weren't as energetic. But he happened to be very, very active and seemed to be, running on a different level than the rest of that defense was.
Yeah, and like that's a promising sign with Austin Booker. Like you said, he's only played 9 games now this season. He's at 4.5 sacks. So realistically, he plays the whole season. You're talking about 9, 8.5 sacks, somewhere around there for a late, what was it, 4th or 5th round pick on him. I mean,
and where's Montez at?
Montez is at 9 or he surpassed 10 sacks. He's at 10.5 now, which,
like and we're paying him $100 million a year.
Yeah, he definitely needs to do a little bit more. It definitely has to be more. 100%. It has to be more. But especially in games like you're telling me you couldn't get 1 sack today, not one, especially with Williams going out so early in the game, their Hall of Famer left tackle. Like he's got to get more sacks. But the one thing I do love about Austin Booker is literally he hustles no matter what. He could be so far away from the play, and he's just constantly hustling. So,
well, there was that one play, and I don't know if you caught it or not, but I did. He was coming in. He almost had Brock Purdy for a sack. Brock gets the ball away and out to the flat, and who's there following up to come in to tackle just in case they needed help or some support on it? Austin Booker. So he went all the way in from behind the pocket to almost sacking the QB, to following the ball out to where it was in the receiver's hand and almost helped them make the tackle out there. So he was all over the field. He's playing with a very, very high sense of urgency. And the rest, like I said, I don't know. Maybe it's the flu bug. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they've played too many games this year. Something.
I will say, too, for you Bears fans out there, good news. I am scrolling on Twitter as we're finishing up this podcast. Luther Burden is doing interviews, which is a great sign. If you do follow up with the media, usually when players get injured badly or they don't know what is wrong with them, they will not be there afterwards for interviews. They'll usually go into a separate side locker room, which is closed off to just the players. But Luther Burden is taking interviews. You know, he has a quote out here. He said, I gave it my all out there, man. I'm really tired, but wish we would have came out with the win. And he also said everybody in this locker room expected us to finish that. We came up short today. So you can tell this is going to hang with the players, hopefully give them some motivation to go into next week and get a win going into the playoffs, because that's exactly what they're going to need headed into the playoffs. You don't want to go into the playoffs with 2 losses hanging on your back. So
maybe this is the 85 Bears, right? They were going to go undefeated. They go down to Miami. They end up taking a loss. It gives them the motivation to go on and win the Super Bowl. So maybe this is the loss we needed. We talked about the loss 4 wins, and maybe this is the loss we needed to go into the playoffs. Then maybe.
Yeah. And I mean, like we've said many times, I just want to highlight the rookies one more time. It's just between Kyle Monangai, Luther Burden, Ozzie Trapillo, and Colston Loveland. I mean, the future's bright for this team. There's really no other way to put it. This is year 1 of Ben Johnson. We know Ben Johnson has said it many times how complicated his offense is and how much of it's a year-to-year thing where they keep adding and adding. This is what you just want to call it of the base, the foundation of what it's going to be going forward. So you really got to be excited as a Bears fan. And like you said, we're in the playoffs. There's nothing to hang your hat about. You at least got a spot in that dance, and those are the games where it actually matters. So good learning lesson. And like you said, maybe it is what they need going forward. One more loss right before the playoffs, so they're not going in cocky. They're level-headed, especially too for this defense. It's a wake-up call for them, because as good as they played last week against Green Bay in the red zone, they need to go fix some things before heading into the playoffs. It's probably a good thing for this defense and Dennis Allen too, to figure out, some other ways to generate some pressure. Maybe go back to what he did early in the season of, kind of blitzing a little bit more to help with that pass rush that is really non-existent. It's missing at a lot of times, but nonetheless, I think we hit it all pretty clearly. Offense, great game. Defense got some stuff to work on, but gotta win next week, and let's do it for Ben Johnson. As much as Ben Johnson has done for these Bears, I know he wants this win against the Lions more than anything after them embarrassing us week 2 early in the season. So I think that's it. I wish they would have won, because I think our MVPs were all spot on. I mean, you had Booker, which I think Booker is probably one of the only defense MVPs. And I said Jalen Johnson, which he's the reason that pick 6 happened. Mm-hmm. And then I had Luther Burden, which was definitely going to be an MVP. And you had Caleb Williams. I mean, the only part was missing was the final touchdown and a Bears win. But I mean, it was our predictions for, there's always been a couple times one of us is right, but where we get it all right, it hasn't happened. We were that close.
And even the score was not that far off. If anyone listened to the pregame and you heard, 42-35 and your thought, wow, he's smoking crack, or even yours 38-31. I mean,
right there.
We were in it,
Yep. We knew it was going to be a shootout going into it. Both defenses kind of struggling, but nonetheless, Bears fall short. I think that'll do it for this post-game show. We will catch you guys next week with the pregame for the final regular season game of the week as the Bears host the Detroit Lions. If the Bears will win that, they will clinch the number 2 seed, and that will mean Green Bay is coming to town for a second time this year. The Bears have a chance to beat the Packers 3 times in 1 year, so be pretty cool. They wrapped up their 2020, the last season, which was a January game in 2025, beat them. We beat them last week, obviously. If you beat them in the playoffs, that's 3 times in 1 year, which would be pretty awesome.
I was wondering how you were.
I know. I saw you looking up, trying to think. So I was like, let me explain it. But it would be 3 times in 1 year. Well, actually, technically, it wouldn't because the playoffs would start in January. Never mind. But so you get my point.
I like your math.
Yeah, I like my math too. But nonetheless, that'll do it for this episode. As always, if you are out there, you're new here, you made it to the end, like, comment, subscribe. We have pregame, postgame shows. And then as always, we do breaking news shows, and it'll be interesting. This is our first year doing this, so we'll figure out what we're going to do in the off season. Obviously, give you draft coverage, stuff along those lines, but it'll be interesting of different topics we can talk about during the off season. But like, comment, subscribe. Scroll down in the description. You can find us on TikTok, Twitter. That's where we're most active, but all of our socials are down there to stay up to date with us during the week. But that'll do it for this episode. We will catch you next week. But for now, bear down.